What could you do? I think a lot of times, just similar to the episode where we talked about like feeling shy about like asking for friends, I feel like it's kind of, culturally embarrassing to like get into something new. Like, oh, what are you into? Oh, I'm really learning about like Russian literature. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
like, oh, you're reading about math at night. Like, do you have, are you suicidal? Like, what is wrong with you? Yeah. Okay. So let's record the intro now.
So what did Milkless? Because I think we start with the name.
Two dads. We love our kids, but then we also need them to know that we're like pretty cool and it's not like a wimpy podcast. So, hey,
hey,
Milkless.
Hey, welcome. Hey,
Milkless. Call the audience, Milkless. What's up, Milkless? Max coming at you.
What if that's it? That's our first take.
All right, Matt, we are back live via satellite talking about a really fun topic today that is brought to the Milkless desk from the co-host, Matt Naylor. You brought to us the idea of the Flynn effect and some things that you've been reading about it. Now, Flynn effect, for people who are uninitiated, is this effect that was noticed by researcher James Flynn, in the last century, that IQ tests are going up steadily over time. It's been kind of pegged at around 3%. So people are getting smarter. They've surmised that it's due to environmental effects. Matt, you've read some additional stuff recently. Why don't you tell us what you want to get into today, now that I've rounded us out a little bit?
Yeah, give it to me. Yeah, this was new to me. I learned about this recently, but I was fascinated by it. The idea that generally over time we're getting smarter as a species. But, and this is not like definitive, but it rang true enough for me that I felt it was worth talking about. There is some evidence, and some people are arguing that Flynn effect, that general trend upward in IQ intelligence, has not only peaked, but perhaps begun to decline again in recent years. IQ itself is, as a measure of intelligence, has, plenty of issues around it. This is not like definitive proof that people are getting dumber, but it just felt resonant enough with the way, I don't know, the experiences I'm having with other people recently, that it felt worth...
What, you turning into a miserly old man where everyone around you is dumb?
Yes, that. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. No, but I think that like as parents, one of the big worries that I think a lot of parents have is like, what impacts are this current environment, and that includes technology, that includes social media, that includes like this kind of rampant anxiety that is written about a lot and seems to be, pretty prevalent with kids. So what impacts are the world we live in going to have on our kids? And there's certainly ways in which like the super distraction driven, pretty low attention span kind of entertainment over like more in-depth mental engagement, all that seems to be pretty beyond dispute in terms of like the way certainly adults are intaking the world and also kids. So I wanted to talk about like, let's say for the sake of argument that there is something about the modern way of living that is not really helping people think clearly or well. What do we do about it?
I think, just instead of just supposing, let's round us out. Let's get a little rounder.
Round us right out. Yeah.
Yeah. So there are some studies pointing to the reverse Flynn effect that could be present. It is not definitive, but there was a kind of a study that consolidated a lot of stuff from the SAPA project, Synthetic Aperture Personality Assessment Project, looking at cognitive ability scores and how they changed. And they did see a marked drop between 2006 and 2018. And it's been pretty steadily kind of correlated with kind of about when the smartphone came out, maybe.
Yeah. When social media became prevalent.
Again, do your own research. Do your own fucking research. God damn it. Why do you come to us?
Just like, stop. We're just two guys. Like, why do you...
Listen,
anyways.
So let's just suppose, because we're going to suppose that there is a reverse Flynn effect. But in that study, what is interesting is we went down in 3 and up in 1.
Four
categories.
And 1 Oh,
categories.
Interesting.
So down in verbal reasoning. So like, understanding analogies, stuff like that, vocabulary, interpreting written or spoken language. So down on that. Matrix reasoning. So like, looking at a matrix, like a 3x3 grid of something, and maybe like choosing what's missing, or, that type of stuff. We also went down in letter and number series. So Matt, like what's the next one here? 2, 4, 8,
16.
There you go. Okay.
Yes.
So
yeah. I was just, as soon as you started doing that, I was really nervous.
Yeah, I saw it beat a sweat. I think you just soiled your headphones.
I changed my pants.
And then there's spatial reasoning, which is the only one that seems to be tracking up, which maybe makes sense with a lot of, maybe there's more
video games,
things like that. But ability to like mentally manipulate shapes or images, like 3D thinking, mental rotation. What would this look like if we turned it 90 degrees? I don't know. That's interesting. I don't know if that's outsized with the current Flynn effect, but maybe that is tracking it. Let's just suppose at the 3% Flynn effect, maybe that's like unaffected by stuff. But yeah, let's get into it, and we're just gonna do a lot of suppositions.
Well, yeah. I mean, one interesting thing that immediately jumps out is kind of the years of that study, that date range that you gave, also is very similar to the date range where you see anxiety going way up among young people particularly, but I think this is also, anxiety is pretty high among parents. And when you're really anxious, you don't score as well on IQ tests. So I do think it points to like, it's really hard to pull apart like what is what and what is some kind of overall impact.
The other thing, just for the, to be totally forthright, the study started in 2006. So it's not that it was the peak. It could have
interesting. Been, yeah. Okay.
It might have been trending downward starting in 2000.
Right.
But whatever.
Sure.
But it's trending downward year over year.
Yeah. One thing that I do think about a lot is this move away from like sustained attention and like, and thinking. The world has gotten shorter and shorter and shorter, right? Like people more and more consume, 50 YouTube shorts instead of one TV show, that you can get AI to, summarize an article for you that would take 30 minutes to read. You can kind of read the summary of it in 2 minutes. Yeah.
Like how the whole thing, the trope where we're like, oh, I don't even remember. I know only my wife's phone number. When I was 10, I knew like 20 phone numbers.
Yeah. Certainly my sense of direction is atrophied from, having a map on my phone all the time, but I do. And there's even like, it's interesting, even the way we consume like sports. We mostly watch highlights and gamble on sports. Like sports gambling is huge now. It's a lot less based on like sitting down and watching a whole game of your team with your friends who also root for that team. So there's this like hyper increase pace, and also this like pre-synthesis that happens for us, where if you're reading a long article, you got to think really hard to figure out what the fuck it means.
Yeah. Can you just summarize what the fuck you're trying to say? Cause this is, I don't have the attention span for this.
You got me for a second. I was like, oh shit. Am I going on too long? Yeah. Just like, everything is short and fast, and it doesn't require a lot of work on our end to like make heads or tails of it,
Yeah. I guess the question is like, is that a bad thing? I mean, the whole thing of like, I don't need to remember phone numbers anymore, or I GPSed to like something that was like the airport right now. I still GPS to the airport. We've lived here for 3 years. The airport is 40 minutes away. I know how to get to the airport. I could get there.
Yeah.
But there's like 2 turns where it's like, do I know? Might as well just put the GPS on. So it's like, is that really that bad? And does that mean I can devote different brain power to other things? And I think that it's like, with great power comes great responsibility. Like, we shouldn't be stuck in our old ways. Like, oh, you need to know all this stuff, but then it's like, what are you using with that extra brain power? Are we on TikTok scrolling maniacally, or are we, diving into some cool new fun hobby, sport, learning thing?
Yeah. Well, and the other thing I think about, like, one is like the time allocation of what we're using our brain for, but also we know now from just like the modernization of neuroscience that the brain is incredibly plastic, right? That it's like use dependent. And an analogy that I like is it's like a muscle. If you, whatever you use it for, it gets stronger at. And so, no, do I miss like printing out a MapQuest thing and then like there's construction on one street and then I'm lost for an hour and a half? No, I don't. But like what brain muscles am I no longer pumping with sufficient regularity to like then do things like critical thinking or even things like creativity? Because generating an idea, going from 0 to 1 or synthesizing ideas into something new, which is like one of the amazing things that the human brain can do, that requires like the muscle of focus and sustained attention and like complex synthesis. You know what I mean?
Totally. I mean, I think that like we need to be, as adults, but then also as parents, and our kids need to be, we need to be our own co-pilots or whatever, our own, what's the word? Vocabulary, man. Like I wanted to say purveyor again, but that's wrong. Like the guy who makes the plans.
Oh yeah, that works. Yeah.
Okay. You got to figure out your own shit. Like, I think that the things that are being presented to us it's like the movie, like WALL-E, where everyone's like 700 pounds being carried around in like a little, levitating scooter. It's like, that's where the world is trying to take us. It's trying to take us into fast food drive-through TikTok. That shit is so easy. It's so low lift. It's so interesting. And it's so like addicting.
Yeah, it's addicting.
It's like,
yeah. I don't even know, honestly, that it's interesting, but it's definitely addicting. Like,
I mean, it is interesting. It's just, but it's almost like you got to snap yourself out of it. Like I stopped doing TikTok. I actually like uninstalled Reddit for the first time. And
nice.
I mean, my account, I probably logged more hours on Reddit than anybody. And everybody's got it, right? Some people have Instagram, some people are Reddit, some people are TikTok. Like those are the things that if we don't check ourselves, we will wreck ourselves. Cause it's like, if you only do it when you're at a waiting room, on the toilet, maybe that works for you. But it's these unstructured times where you really can go wild.
Yeah. And it's interesting. Sorry, go ahead. Finish your point. Sorry.
Well, and the last thing is like, if we're just kind of saying, hey, what should I do? They're going to give us these things that will fill our time. Mm-hmm. And if we're kind of left feeling like with a little bit of anxiety in the stomach, like, what are we doing? It's just taking a step back and meditating. No, meditating does work, but also it's like something I started doing.
By the way, since you shat on me on our recent podcast. You shamed me into podcasting.
That is what most yogis and most Deepak Chopra says to do. Scream at your friends.
Yeah.
Scream at your friends. To get them.
Yeah. Scream at your friends.
Scream at your friends. Come on, man. But here's the thing, like something that I've done, I don't know if I've said it on the show a lot, but every once in a while I will kind of just really look at what I'm doing with my time and my life. It's like, what am I doing here? What do I like? And then write down all the things you want to do, be, and have, and then cross out the ones I'm doing for other people, because people say, I should do this. Because Max, you're good at this. You should do this. I fucking hate that shit. Then you cross that shit out. It's like, hey, wait a minute. I don't really like doing that. Now, there's certain things. It's like, well, I should go to work. Well, yeah, I go to work because I do love my kids and my family, and I want to do that. But like figuring out what it is you want. For example, I realized, like kind of like an embarrassing thing, I wanted to learn about number theory. So I started looking at these books, and I started reading these books at night about number theory, which is like the study of prime numbers. That's not something that TikTok will ever offer to me. And now I work on these problems is Project Euler, Project EULER, where it's just like using computational math. And it's like, hey, up to 100 million, how many multiples of 3 and 5 are there? You might be able to figure that out on pen and paper, but you can also do it using Python. So you go into ChatGPT, you type it out. ChatGPT tells me the code. I put that into a Python compiler. Wow, I'm doing computational math now. This is like a new project for me I've been working on for the last 6 months. Mm-hmm. It is so fun. And I feel the same level of excitement that, I don't know, a kid felt. But it took me a while to figure that out and find that. Because otherwise, I was doing TikTok, Reddit, Instagram, probably hour and a half a day. Mm-hmm. Maybe even more.
God, and when you think about as a parent with young kids, how little free time you actually have, that's like half of it, if not more. And it's like,
it's like, I don't know, like there's certain things like, what do you want to do? Like, do you want to learn guitar? Do you want to? This is the stuff where I would say to myself, like, oh, I can never do number theory because now I have kids and now I do this. And it's like, if you look at your day, it's like, fuck, man. I've been doing a lot of Reddit.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by the Milkless Patreon. If you want to keep listening, it's only going to cost $79.99 per month. We're going entirely offline, so you can no longer listen unless you pay $79.99 per month. Just kidding. It's fucking free. We're actually losing money on the episodes, but we love doing it for you. All we want is for you to tell a friend. Think about that one friend who listens to podcasts. They told you about serial podcasts. They told you about, and it's like, tell them about one.
Yeah.
And it's Milkless.
Just return the favor. The $79.99 does get you feet pics from Max. So if you're into that.
So, hold on. Last little thing.
Oh, yeah.
I cut out Reddit on my phone. Do you know how many times? So I deleted Reddit on my home screen like 5 years ago. So the way I access Reddit is I swipe up and type RED. I still type RED into my phone 15 to 20 times a day. And it's been like, I uninstalled it 2 months ago.
Talk about, because you got that muscle real strong. The RED muscle was built up.
Still,
that's far out. Yeah.
I did it like 4 times this morning already.
That's funny.
It's bizarre. So
there's kind of 3 like themes that emerged for me as you were talking. 2 of them are really applicable to your kids, and then one of them I think is more applicable to you as an adult. So we'll start with kids. The first one, and I'm stealing this a little bit. I was watching this conversation. Actually, I was watching just a few minutes of it on YouTube Shorts, but I was like, I got to cop to that. But it was between John Haidt, who we've author of The Anxious Generation, who talks a lot about social media. We've referenced him frequently on here, and Ezra Klein of Vox. And they were talking about this concept of friction, like that when things are a little hard, you grow muscle, whether that's like physically or mentally, right? And there was kind of a hopeful part and a negative part to this. The hopeful part was that both of them feel like we are on our way to figuring out social media a little bit, at least in terms of kids. Like, we know how damaging it is to them. We know the impact on mental health. We know that we just need to be a lot more responsible about the way kids interact with social media. Like, we figured it out eventually with cigarettes. We figured out, like these new things come along and we just don't know how bad they are. But the point that Ezra Klein was making that was interesting, he's like, I am terrified of AI, because it does seem increasingly in the next 2 to 3 years, like we're going to have AGI. Like the rate of progress on that is just bananas. And
can you clarify what AGI is for the listeners?
AGI is like a general intelligence. The most basic definition I've heard is that like we will have AI that is generally speaking able to do any cognitive task better than a person could. Like a year ago, it was the fringy weirdos who were building the stuff who are like, yeah, we're getting there. And everybody's like, yeah. And now it's like everybody who knows about it is like, this is coming maybe in this administration. And the point that Ezra Klein made is he's like, that is basically the end of all friction for anything having to do with the computer. Like, you want anything to happen, you just ask your AI friend to do it, including friendship, because AI is going to be increasingly able to really, replicate a buddy that you could talk to. So that, but what was interesting to me about that conversation is they were talking about it in terms of like, kids need friction. Adults do too, by the way. But we just need things to be a little hard, because that's how we build muscle. And the concern they have around, it's like, we're going to figure out social media just in time for AI to come hit us. And then we're going to have to figure that out, because all these kids are going to be running around not knowing how to do anything. and having AI friends who just are the perfect friend for them and never create any relational friction. I do think, and I kind of want to hear your thoughts before I keep talking, but like, do you think for your kids in terms of making sure that there is friction for them in their lives?
Yeah. I mean, this is similar to our grit episode. I think that friction is super important. It's similar to, I don't know, like, I think that we have to set that example. And the weird thing is and I have math on the brain right now because I just opened up the kimono, which is not an inappropriate sexual reference. Fucking Google it, guys. Stop being
Is that an actual? I've never heard that phrase.
Open up the kimono?
Huh.
Under the kimono? Yeah.
What's under the kimono? Y'all dick?
Yeah. That's what all people think. It was like geisha style and it was like objectifying women. It isn't. It was done in ancient times to show if you had a sword under the kimono. Sure. So get off my back. Anyway. So
defensive.
So basically, yeah, like if you think about like how to make things hard, it's not that we want to like make the kids not use GPS or, make the kids memorize 700 phone numbers. Like this is the modern world, but finding friction is good. And the way that I've shown the example of, I've been working on this same problem. If there are any mathematicians out there, problem number 935 from Project Euler. It's a rolling square problem. I've been working on it for 4.5 weeks.
Oh, rolling square. Sounds like you kind of need to round it out before you dive in.
I wish it was fucking round. But anyway, like just showing that sometimes it's not all about easy street. Like my wife also arguing with me constantly about not ordering from Amazon to order some CR 2032 batteries. She's like, just go to fucking Walgreens. I don't know. There's certain things where, what are the things in your life to show your kids that sometimes like it's okay to go the long route? And maybe that means using AI. I mean, I'm using ChatGPT to try to solve this problem. It's not that like, and here's the thing when people say, oh, I don't use ChatGPT yet for my work. It's like, yeah, you're not going to fucking write a prompt and then send the email. But why don't you write your jacked ass email first, pass it through ChatGPT to see how they clean it up for you? It's like, oh, and then make another couple edits. Like, I don't know. Yeah,
I like the framing that you put around it of sometimes you want to go the long way. Like, I do think in terms of like slow sometimes, like what are slower activities? This has been easier for me, like physically, because like if my girls get tired on a hike or something, I don't necessarily just pick them up. Sometimes I'm like, nah, you got to go a little further. Right? Like I do. It's funny. My 2-year-old, we've got these 2 5-pound weights and she likes to come out into the garage with me and lift weights. And I'm like, fuck yeah, this is the best. Mentally, that seems a little bit like more abstract, but I think of it in terms of like what are slower activities where there's a little like more of a mental challenge to it. I mean, reading is like an obvious one. Like as soon as your kids can read, you want them reading.
I think also just like this is only going to happen for some people, but who are into puzzles. Like, okay, let me just finish on the math thing. I'll move out of math in one more second. Is like,
you don't have to be ashamed of math, man. I think you're cool.
I know. So what I've done is I've made these prompts into ChatGPT because I don't know how to code Python, but this site is all about computational math. Like find how many primes there are that have a 7 in them up to 100 million, right? That would take a lifetime to figure out by hand, but you can write the code, say, okay, start with the first number 2. Check to see if there's any factors. Store those numbers. And I can verbally say how I want it to recursively figure this out. I put that into ChatGPT. Ask ChatGPT, do not give me the fucking answer. Because at first ChatGPT was like, oh, it looks like you're working on problem 74 of Project Euler. Here's the fucking answer. And it's like, okay. So I say, do not give me the answer, ChatGPT. Help me write my code exactly as I say. My kids have been watching me do this for the past few months. And it's like, I'm putting constraints in there that like, I don't just want the answer, but I want a hard problem, but I'm using modern tools to kind of not have to spend 6 months learning how to code, but I am still flexing that muscle of doing hard problems.
Yeah.
The other thing is like our 9-year-old is now big into crosswords. And if you Google like easy crossword puzzles, there's really, really, really awesome easy crossword puzzles. And my wife and I love crosswords, and he does now crosswords every night before bed. And he'll ask me to help him. I'll never give him the answer, and I'll just give him my techniques of if he can't get an answer, I will like use the clue in a sentence.
Yeah.
Like, what's another word for this?
Yeah.
And those sorts of things where you don't just give the answer.
There's friction.
There's friction, but you know, you're not like saying just like, oh, figure it out. Like there's a way to get them there.
Well, and I like the point you're making that like I have no desire to be a Luddite. Does that word mean anything to you, Luddite?
Yeah, smart people say it sometimes. Yeah, it means like people who use Nokia phones today.
Yeah, people who just like hate technology on principle, basically. Yeah, and like certainly, I mean, I've seen in the video production world, there's ways in which like AI tools have made work very fast that used to be extremely tedious and laborious and et cetera, et cetera. And maybe it was like good brain exercise because it was slow and there was plenty of friction. But you made the point earlier. It's like, okay, well, like it's nice that this can just happen quickly now, but what am I doing instead of that with that time that I got back? If that is something else that is kind of in this like slow mental exercise kind of space, then that's amazing. I just gained free time. If it's like hanging out on TikTok, it's not great.
Yeah. I mean, also just like, maybe this is just going to become just a big scathing thing about social media in general, but like social media, Reddit, Instagram, YouTube, Shorts, all this stuff. It's entertainment, you know?
Well, and interestingly, I saw this great fucking diagram. There was kind of like, it got passed around a bunch of like filmmaker types, and it was kind of tragic. And it was this little fish, and the little fish was labeled art. And the first diagram was, this is how it's always been. And the little fish art was getting eaten by a bigger fish called entertainment. And then it's like, this is how it is now. And the entertainment fish was getting eaten by a fish labeled distraction. And then the fourth diagram was, this is what social media companies, what their business model operates on. And it was tiny little art fish getting eaten by an entertainment fish, getting eaten by a distraction fish, getting eaten by an addiction fish, which I think is a good illustration of like that cannot have a positive cognitive effect on people if that is in fact the way the world is going.
And here's the thing is like, I really feel like it's like, you know, with great power comes great responsibility. The line from Spider-Man. It's like back in the day.
Originally said in Spider-Man.
Yeah. Back in the day, life was so fucking boring. You know, we've seen that stand-up bit where the guy's like, mindfulness. Like, you just were practicing mindfulness. Like, creativity. You got to, like, figure out your own fun. Right now, there's so much fast food for the mind. Mm-hmm. If we're not it's not purveyors, but if we're not the planners, the people who plan what the fuck we want to do with our time, it will get eaten up by the least common fucking denominator, whatever, the least common multiple. It's just like, it's too easy. So it's like, if you like puzzles, do puzzles. If you like playing outside, you got to play outside. If you like, I don't know, like there's got to be things and we can teach those things. It's not no TV, because we watch TV every night. Well, I love TV.
Yeah.
We watch an hour of Survivor as a family. And we'll even watch old seasons, but that's what we watch. Or sometimes we watch American Ninja Warrior. But we watch like 1 hour of that. It's these unfettered, like untimed, like you as a person would not watch 8 hours of TV on a Saturday unless you were like ruthlessly sick.
Yeah.
You know, like, so it all needs to be almost like as if we had like a healthcare consultant, like you working your way through the healthcare thing. Like rich people have these like healthcare consultants who like help advocate for them and make a plan and like make sure you're taking your vitamins and make sure that you're getting the right care from the surgeon and, you know, like making sure you're getting a second opinion. We need that in our free time. Like, what are we doing? Like, what is the fucking plan? Yeah. What are we doing? Like, and also it's like, otherwise, especially with kids, it's like, you know how many parents who just like, oh, well, I better do piano lessons and I better do dance class and I better do this sport and that sport. And the next thing you know, it's like, wait a minute, we don't have family dinner anymore. The kids are overscheduled. What the fuck is going on?
Well, and that is like a perfect kind of tee up for like the second point that I was thinking that particularly pertains to kids. The first one being friction. The second one being like just like time when there is not any kind of entertainment to slide in and fill the space. I think about this even with our Tony box, which is, for those of you who don't know, Tony boxes are just a little like speaker and you put a little figurine on top of it and it tells a story. My oldest daughter falls asleep to a Tony every night. And I do think about like, oh shit, I didn't have that when I was a kid. And that's when I first started making up stories, which is what I do for a living now, is I just made up stories to entertain myself while I was in bed at night. So that is like a little window where like entertainment has slid in. And even though it's like, it's not a screen and like, I like the stories, she actually falls asleep to Violet Archer frequently, which is adorable. I do think about that stuff. And I think about those times when we're just like, when my wife and I are just like, go outside, just go outside. And because when our girls get too loud, we're just like, please go outside. And there's a little like pretend kitchen out there, and they will bitch about it at first. They'll be like, but then 10 minutes later, they're like picking flowers and making them into a potion and playing some elaborate make-believe game. And it's like, that's the muscle I want you to flex. And that muscle only gets used when it has to, when there's not entertainment to fill that space.
Yeah. And I think what's really hard is just even those moments where we do that too. I don't view that as my kids moving in a positive direction, even though it is so necessary. It's like that undirected play is essential. Our kids do it all the time.
Yeah.
I really more think of it as respite. Oh, get out of my fucking hair. Oh, thank God they're outside for a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like if I put on my Tiger Parent cap, I don't feel like I'm doing anything for them. But we somehow are. Like, that's what's weird about that shit.
Yeah, well, we've talked about like free play always gets undervalued because it's so hard to like quantify and measure why it's important. But we know that it's like the fundamentals of creativity are happening there. And also if your siblings are together, it's like relational. They're having to solve conflicts between each other and figure out like dynamics without you there to fix it for them. So yeah, I think that's huge. Friction and then just space without entertainment there to fill it. And then as you're talking, the thing that I think is big for us as adults, and that I have like, it's interesting that you've described this, because I have found my way back recently toward learning. I've just gotten interested in learning things again.
Totally. I was never interested really. Like in college, remember? I remember people saying like, your parents are paying, or I was paying as well, a lot of money to go to college. Like, I was like, yeah, this is just signaling to the employers. Yeah. I was very transactional.
Yeah.
I didn't, I just kind of passed the classes.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I feel you.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's like, and for our kids, I think that desire to learn is pretty, like, it's in there. They like, that's not hard for them to gin up a desire to learn things. But I think as adults, that can kind of go away. And it's been, and I think everybody's got a different style. Like what you're doing with number theory sounds like a fucking nightmare to me. It sounds awful. Like,
oh my God, I thought you were going to say sounds fucking awesome.
No, it sounds so terrible. But like the way I learn is like, I decide I want to do something and then I learn everything I need to do it, which I guess is kind of what you're doing. But mine's normally like, I need to be physical and outside and like minimal interaction with a computer, and just math is, I almost, like, I started sweating when you said 2, 4, 8. It's just not my sweet spot. But yeah. So friction, space, slowness, and then learning.
We'll talk on this in a future episode, but like, I don't drink anymore. That's the first time telling users this. I used to drink like a fish. I haven't drank since last year. And something I used to look forward to was the drink at night. I'd be like, ooh, yeah, I'm excited to like, have that drink at the end of the day as a little treat. Now what I look forward to is that learning. I don't know, like, oh man, I'm going to like learn something about number theory, but it doesn't have to be number theory. It can literally be like, I feel like everybody has something when I have these conversations with friends, like, oh man, it was like, I have a friend, Josh, who's like so into like the Genghis Khan and like the Comanches and like horse people with bows and arrows and living on the land and fighting and killing each other. So he reads all these crazy historical things or listens to podcasts or audiobooks. And it's like, when you talk with anybody, someone will have something they're interested in. That's like, you know what I used to love? I loved this. And it's like, well, what is that? What could you do? I think a lot of times, just similar to the episode where we talked about like feeling shy about like asking for friends, I feel like it's kind of, you know, culturally embarrassing to like get into something new. Like, oh, what are you into? Oh, I'm really learning about like Russian literature. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're reading about math at night? Like, do you have, are you suicidal? Like, what is wrong with you? Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, everybody has something, you know?
Yeah, right. That's right. Yeah.
Do you have something? Or you're always a creator? I got to create. I got to make something. Is there anything that like some
that I
subject
just
you
learn about
that you haven't, that you know a little bit about?
Yeah. I mean, I like recently, and interestingly, we should do a future episode about this because booze has never been my problem, but I was overly reliant on weed, and that is now out of my life, at least
Congrats.
almost entirely.
At least for the last like 36 hours.
Yeah, for the
That's
last
great.
like day. No. I just stopped having it
Yeah,
around
it's good.
because I was like, if I have it in my house, so I just don't have it. So I can't do
Yeah.
it. Theoretical physics is pretty interesting to me. That's been like the one, and like quantum mechanics has been the one thing that I can't really like do anything with, but I just find myself like reading books and listening to like long lectures or debates about it. Space, you know, like very, very big and very, very small things get me fired up. And then I read a lot. I read a lot of fiction still. I read most nights, which I enjoy.
Good for you.
Fuck yeah, buddy. Clap for it. Clap for it,
You're a
motherfucker.
reader? Wow.
I'm a reader.
Good. Audiobooks, right?
No, I read.
Oh, good for you. Real books. Wow.
I just started. No, I listen to audiobooks too for nonfiction. I started Morgan Cutlip's new book because we're gonna have her back on, right? Well, yeah, I think
I think we solved it.
I do think that there's something cool because I've spoken to a few other friends. It's a very anecdotal, small sample size who have also found themselves back in this with this desire to learn. I think also like podcasts have never been more popular. I think there is this like this longing for something that is slower and more in depth and requires more of you to actively be like not just entertained by it, but thinking about it, and is not finding enough of an expression in the way we built the modern world. And so maybe it's, maybe people are reaching for it, which is, I think, a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, it can dovetail in with the, go-getter tiger person, but it can also be the kind of meditative yogi in the sense that like, if you read a little bit of something every day, even 20 minutes, 5 minutes before bed, then how's that going to extrapolate out? What's the compounding interest on that?
Yeah.
And that's what kind of got me excited. Like, wait a minute. What if I read about number theory every night for a little bit for like 10 years? That's cool.
Yeah.
I probably know a lot. That's awesome.
Nate Bargatze has a joke in his newest stand-up. He always jokes about how dumb he is. He's obviously not dumb because he's very funny. But he didn't give a shit about school. And he was talking about going to career day, and they sat him at the same table as like a surgeon. And he's like, it just felt mean, man. Like, because they were like, what do you have to do? Well, I went to 37 years of school. What do you have to do to become a stand-up comedian? You're good now. And he's like, and I felt like I was just there to show them the difference between books and not books, like between reading and not. Yeah, but you keep pointing back to like model it for your kids. Just like have a house where that's something that you do, that your kids do, where there's space for it. And then they're building that muscle.
Well, because also, like, I feel like there's this weird fucking thing where it's like, yeah, don't use your phone in front of your kids. And then it's like, okay, but like back in the day, like my dad used to read the newspaper in front of me.
Yeah.
Can I do that? What, I got to get
Yeah.
a piece of paper to do it?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
like I want to be able to enjoy my own shit. And I feel at least like socially and parentally acceptable. I think it's cool to like, I'll read a little bit. I'm like, guys, we're going to do quiet time. Like, I'm going to read a little bit. Like, what are you reading about? Oh, just like numbers and math. And they're like, why? I'm like, because I find it really interesting. I want to learn about this. I'm trying to do this math problem that I can't figure out. 935, guys. Project Euler 935. The rolling square. Help me. Please.
Please. I'm lost. Oh my god. Well, yeah, we oversimplify it by vilifying the phone or the computer. Like sometimes my computer gets used to watch YouTube dumb short shit that's like killing the Flynn curve, and sometimes I watch it. I use it to watch hour-long physics lectures while I'm doing the dishes, and I can't really think of a better way to spend my time. So like, yeah, it's not that simple, but I think those couple of principles of like, is there friction? Do you need to use your brain to be a part of this? Is there like space for you to think? And then are you learning? I think those are like really good barometers for like, and of course, sometimes you want to fuck off and watch YouTube shorts. It's fine. But just like making sure that the other stuff is happening too.
Yeah, but also even just like, I maybe some long form is what we're longing for. Last little thing on math, and then you guys can cancel me. This will be your last episode. Thanks for listening.
You're the first person to get canceled for math.
Yeah, there's this guy, 3 Blue, 1 Brown. It's incredible. Grant Sanderson makes these videos that if you like kind of found math interesting, but like, so dry and boring, he makes some videos that like explain what calculus is. These are the most beautiful, visually stunning videos. And it's like, if he's got 7 million followers, and they're math videos. And this is what got me into it like 5 years ago. If you just watch one of the videos, go to 3 Blue, 1 Brown, and we'll link it in the podcast. Just check out the one on calculus. It's just like, oh, that's so intuitive now.
That's cool.
What's interesting though is like not just watching, but then doing something on the side is so rewarding for me, because then it's like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Doing some.
Yeah, finding something to do with it. Yeah, no, that's great. Cool, man. Hopefully we can stop ourselves and our children from getting dumber, if that's even happening. But it feels like it is.
Yeah.
Because I'm grumpy. All right, brother. Talk to you soon.
This episode of Milkless is brought to you by Viola Archer in the case of the Purple Martin. Thank you. Bye.